For some time now, there's been something of a war between the computer giant Apple and Epic Games, the creator of hugely popular games like Fortnite, over who gets paid how much money when somebody downloads something on Apple's App Store. To explain why it's such a big deal and the impact more widely on other people that like apps on app stores, we have Jen Dudley-Nicholson, National Technology Editor from News Corp, and Sarah Moran, the co-founder of Girl Geek Academy. All right, Jen, explain to me, what exactly is this conflict about?
It is the battle of Goliath versus Goliath, and they're both pretending to be David. This is Apple, and this is Epic Games, which is the owner of Fortnite, which you may have heard of, a tiny little game that spells itself incorrectly.
All I know about it is it comes with a dance, but I take your point. So why are they fighting?
So they're fighting over money, but they're pretending to be fighting over us. So Apple is fighting because it would like to continue having a walled garden where its apps are nice and safe and protect us, you know, the average everyday person just using an iPhone trying to get by in this crazy world. And Epic is fighting because it would really rather not pay Apple 30% of everything it takes from all of us. And it's also just standing up for the little guy developer who just wants to make it in this world by putting an app on Apple's store and not having to pay that much out for it.
All right, Sarah Moran, whose side are you on?
So basically in November, Tim Sweeney from Epic came out and started releasing Fortnite for a more affordable price or a cheaper price than what was available in the Google and the Apple app stores, and as a result got booted off the app stores. And, you know, Tim Sweeney did not like this and has decided to play it out in the courts. Now, I have come to understand Apple's philosophy on why they do charge 30% of the takings for apps that are making money on the store. And the big reason is that they spend a lot on labour checking apps before they go live. So they don't see the customers of the apps on their store as Fortnite customers or Epic customers. They see them as Apple customers first and foremost. So they invest a lot in checking all the bugs and making sure that an app or a game is absolutely ready to roll and that the user experience for an iPhone user is going to be amazing. And they believe that costs around 30%. So if you're making as much money as Epic is, then they think they deserve the cut. On the flip side, basically it's if you earn over $1 million on the App Store, that remains at 30%. But if you earn less than $1 million, your cut will only be 15%. Now, if you think of the proliferation of terrible apps that exist on the App Store, they never would have been able to afford to, you know, pay developers to be able to get them up to Apple's quality. And so Apple does that for you. And as a result, that's why they take it on the other end. So I don't know. I think I'm actually on Apple's side on this one. Took me a while to convince myself just now, but that's where I am.
I'm on the sidelines. That's where I am because I love watching big tech companies go at each other. It kind of keeps us in business and gives us something to talk about. So let the rich people fight and let the lawyers win, I suppose. And like what you mentioned too about, small developers who are earning $1 million or less than $1 million rather a year from their apps. That wasn't always the case until this lawsuit came about. And it's very useful for a lot of smaller developers. And so I kind of like what has happened out of that. I don't necessarily want to blast the entire Apple ecosystem, however, because I like apps.
What happens to the Apple ecosystem, particularly from a user standpoint, if Apple loses?
We've had, jailbroken phones for a long period of time where people kind of sneak apps onto an iPhone, and it's a really laborious system in order to make this work. And, potentially you're sideloading malware onto your phone, your shiny iPhone that used to be so good, and then voiding the warranty. Potentially Apple could have to allow something like that to happen. I don't think that that's going to do wonders for the safety and security of one of the safest brands. I mean, if it leads to lower prices that developers have to pay, then potentially that's a good thing. However, I thought it was really interesting that they said, look, if we don't get this money through, the 30% charge on, in-app purchases, we will find it elsewhere. And so it's not necessarily a fight that Apple's just going to give up on and Tim Apple's going to stride off into the distance going, fine, find your own apps.
And okay, and similar question to you, Sarah.
We may see that there might be a fee introduced for people to get their apps approved in the store. So, Apple iPhone apps are not cheap to make and developers are not cheap to hire. So if you then have to add the cost of, passing Apple's rules to get through, that's going to actually really result in us having a lot less apps available. I work with young people and I encourage them to build their own apps, and they can have a go at getting them in the App Store and hopefully they get in. But if I have to turn around to a 12-year-old girl and say you can't build your app unless you've got 50K to make sure Apple approves it, well, that's really going to have a negative effect on all of us as well as builders of the internet.
All right, there is lots more of this in the podcast of Download This Show. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, gang.